That does not work, fortunately. But today we are going to talk about seed oils, the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is a topic that clearly I'm a little bit passionate about, and I love that for us. But I think it's really important because it can be confusing and conflicting when you are starting to navigate the world of seed oils and you want to become more aware of what you're putting in your body. And then you go on a supplement like Black Cumin Seed Forte, and it's like, what the heck? Isn't this a seed oil? So let's start to dissect it. Here's what we're going to cover today. Unfortunately, the reality is we have all been duped, and that's okay. I have been too, and so have so many others. And it really matters because seed oils are everywhere. I mean, once you start to have an awareness of it, it almost feels overwhelming. And most people don't even know what to look for or what to begin to look for. So my goal is by the end of this session, you'll know exactly what oils to ditch, which ones to keep, and why it matters for your hormones, your metabolism, and for your family's future. Because I think these seed oils are absolutely so critical for kiddos' health and vitality as well. So let's get the bad out of the way. I know it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're just going to start with the bad and the ugly to begin with. As you start on your seed oil journey, the highly processed oils that are extracted from seeds, and we'll talk about that process, that I want you to really focus on, the way I describe it is the 3 C's and the 3 S's: corn, cotton or cottonseed, and canola, soybean, sunflower, and safflower. A bonus would be grapeseed, if you can. Grapes are good for a lot of things, but oil is not one of them. So as you begin to look at different seed oils or looking for seed oils within products, these are the ones I like to avoid. I had something. Okay, perfect. Corn, cotton, canola, soybean, sunflower, safflower. I will add a little asterisk by the sunflower. Some sunflower oil is processed in a little bit more intentional way, and a company that utilizes it is Simple Mills. This is a company that I do really like. However, I do still try to avoid even the good processed sunflower oil. It's just something that I'd like to minimize as much as I can, but if that is a seed oil that sneaks in, it's the high oleic, I think it's called, sunflower oil. Let me pull it up on their website really quick. And they've done some really good brand awareness around this on what they use. High oleic, I was right. Oh my gosh. High oleic sunflower oil has excellent oxidative stability to maintain more of its nutritional properties throughout the process. They spend a great deal of time developing their crackers, and they use the sunflower oil with a purpose. It has a different composition than typical sunflower oil. Sunflower oil is mainly composed of polyunsaturated omega-6 fatty acids, predominantly linoleic acid. I'm going to talk to you guys about that in this presentation, which consumed in excess is linked to more inflammatory risks. However, the high oleic sunflower oil has a higher percentage of heart-healthy monounsaturated omega-9 fatty acids, predominantly oleic acid, which research has found to have positive outcomes related to inflammatory disorders and immune modulation. Expeller press sunflower oil allows us to avoid added chemical exposure used in the solvent extraction process. Again, we're going to talk about this. It has excellent oxidative stability to maintain more of its nutritional properties. Their rationale is by choosing it in their crackers, it's an intentional effort to meet flavor and texture desirability without compromising mission, and to provide customers with nutritious options and purposeful ingredients. I still am going to avoid it as much as I can. That is where I will leave that. Let's talk about the timeline though. Like why are we only talking about seed oils now? How long have they been around for? So in the 1860s, cottonseed oil was repurposed as lamp oil and industrial lubricant. Yes, these were made to light your fires and to move your cars. Procter & Gamble in the 1900s patents the hydrogenation of cottonseed oil, Crisco, originally meant for candles and soap. Okay, so let's talk about this because in 1900s to 1911, Crisco launched a lard alternative, Crisco cleaner, healthier, modern. Yuck, yuck. But the way that hydrogenation works is you're adding oxygens to, well, hydrogen and oxygen to the fat to make it go from a liquid to a solid. So they're taking oil and they're turning it into Crisco. They're turning it into a lard alternative. And if you've ever seen lard, it's just this beautiful white rendered fat. It's gorgeous. Crisco looks really similar. It's white, it's solid. You can use it shortening. That's what it's often called. They used to use just lard for that. And so they launched this cleaner alternative as another way to utilize these oils, lamp oil and industrial lubricant. But the goal behind it was a shelf-stable option. Okay, so I don't think all of these things necessarily started as bad. Lard is a dairy product, and while it is exceptionally stable, all fats can go rancid. But you have artificial fats here, and you can keep them on this because there's so many chemicals added, you can keep them shelf stable for longer, which increases profitability of a product because you don't need to have such high turnover like you do managing dairy products in the refrigerator. Does that make sense? So then we jump to the 1950s and 60s where saturated fat is wrongly demonized. Ansel Keys, which if you look into Ansel Keys, he's a researcher. He's done research. He did a lot of research at the U of M, actually. But he had a flawed 7-country study that popularized a low-fat, high vegetable oil diet. He selected countries that matched his hypothesis and excluded data from nations that contraindicated it. His work downplayed sugar's role in heart disease and shifted the blame to saturated fat. His influence led to decades of dietary guidelines promoting vegetable oils. One researcher, what a reach. In the 1980s to the 2000s, fast food chains, processed companies switched to cheap seed oils for stability of shelf life and for frying. And this is something that as we have owned homegrown, we've kicked around the idea of putting in a fryer. And I said, I'll only fry in lard. And the shelf life of lard and the way that it fries is so, it's real. It's crazy, but it's real. And so it doesn't last as long as seed oils. So as I'm educating someone on this, I'm like, yes, but we want to maintain being a cooking seed oil free kitchen, cooking in no seed oils. And he's like, what are seed oils? So I listed the 3 C's and the 3 S's, and he's like, oh my gosh, you're killing me. And I'm like, no, those seed oils are killing you, buddy. That's what's happening. So keeping that in mind, these companies switched for convenience, again, for the margins that they can make on their food, for the margins that they can save spending. It was very intentional. But from 2015 to 2020, there was like a 5-year window, but Crisco was officially discontinued because the hydrogenated formula contained trans fats. So if you remember, you used to see saturated fat, unsaturated fat, trans fat on a nutrition label. Well, they realized trans fat so dangerous and detrimental for your health that they made FDA requirements around not having any trans fats. They were banned. And so they had to pull Crisco as it was made off of the shelf because those trans fats were creating the shelf stability for it, but they're also chemicals and creating so much dis-ease in a body directly linked to heart disease, study after study after study. But again, another generally recognized as safe element. In theory, fat is okay for the body, right? In fact, we look at good fats as being so good for the body. So there's no way another more chemical-based type of fat is going to be bad. Think again. But we were the guinea pigs for however long. Let's see. Crisco was created for 100 years. We were the guinea pigs, you guys. 100 years. You go back to this. 1900s, 1911 specifically, that shelf-stable one, 2020, over 100 years of being a guinea pig. And how many people dying and how many people diagnosed with some sort of heart disease that are switching from lard to Crisco for their biscuits and pies and cookies. My mom used to make cookies with Crisco. Love you, Mom, but ew. And the reality is today, 80 to 90% of processed foods contain some form of industrial seed oil. 80 to 90% of processed foods. So I know when people start their health journey, they often hear, shop the perimeter, shop the perimeter. This is why. The stuff in the bags or the boxes, Simple Mills, even a healthier option, is still using high oleic, might be a better proprietary blend, but it's still a seed oil, 80 to 90%. How these oils are made. Ugh. Okay, so it begins with harvest and collection. Mass farming of these seeds, soy, corn, rapeseed, cotton, often heavily sprayed with pesticides, grown in monocultural systems that deplete soil health. And if you've heard me talk about anything, I'm all about the soil health. That's why we love standard process supplements. They're all about the soil health. And then from there, they're mechanically pressed with high heat extraction. The seeds are crushed and pressed under intense heat. This immediately oxidizes the fat, it's like when you bite into an apple and the apple eventually turns brown, that's oxidation. It doesn't look the same. It's not quite the same. It's the effect that oxygen has on a otherwise stable environment. Oxidizes the fats and destroys the antioxidants. Heat causes polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs, these are the healthy fats that we want, to become unstable, forming free radicals before they even enter your body. From there, the remaining pulp is washed in hexane, a chemical solvent derived from petroleum, to pull out the last bit of oil. Hexane residues are technically removed, but trace amounts are often found in the final product. That's the chemical solvent bath, number 3. Number 4 is degumming, bleaching, and deodorizing. So the oils are then degummed with acids to remove gums and resins, bleached with clays or activated carbon to remove the grayish or brown color, deodorized through steam distillation to eliminate the rancid smell caused by the initial heat processing. I think you all know that rancid smell of fat. Yeah, it's rancid before they even put it in the bottle. They just deodorize it to trick us into thinking it's fine. And then they add chemical additives for shelf life, preservatives, and anti-foaming agents, sort of like they add anti-caking agents to flours and cheeses. Anti-foaming agents are added to ensure the oil looks appealing and lasts months or even years on the shelves. And finally, they're packaged in clear plastic bottles where exposure to light and even more heat causes further oxidation, which your body then has to clean up. How delicious does that sound? Oh my gosh. Ew. Ew. What a bummer, huh? So let's talk about this really quick. This is the linoleic acid, and this is really critical to note that linoleic acid is necessary in your body. All types of fats, there's a spectrum of fats. There's omega-3s, that's the one we hear the most about. 6s, 9s, I think there's a 7. Like there's a spectrum of fats, and all of them do have a place within your body. But omega-3s in general are extremely anti-inflammatory, and omega-6s are more inflammatory. They're pro-inflammatory. Anyone who's listened to me do any sort of presentation, inflammation is not necessarily bad all the time. Like inflammation can be protective if you have an injury. The way the body responds to injury is with acute inflammation. It's increasing blood flow to an area, allowing for debris to be carried away, allowing for blood to clean up an area if there's a wound or an injury. Inflammation is not necessarily bad. Chronic inflammation is terrible. So linoleic acid is a type of omega-6 PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acid, that is naturally found in nuts, seeds, and certain whole foods. However, industrial seed oils and the concentration of linoleic acid within those is extremely high, and this is where problems begin. When consumed in excess, like most modern diets, this linoleic acid can oxidize easily, and remember, oxidation equals rancid. Oxidized oils are bad oils. And we just talked about how they're rancid before we even start because of the way that they're processed. So even though they might not smell like they're bad, they are still bad. And it leads to the formation of even more inflammatory compounds within these oils and triggering more inflammatory responses within the body. This PUFA, this omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acid, disrupts cell membranes and mitochondrial function. It promotes chronic inflammation and oxidative stress, and it can be stored in body fat for years, continuing to cause cellular damage over time. I want to just talk about this for a second because this is a conversation I have with clients a lot when I'm talking about seed oils. When you put enough good in, when you put enough omega-3 in, the body will try to slough off the omega-6s and the omega-9s to replace it with the anti-inflammatory fats because the body knows what's good for it and it will work with what it has. So if it has 80 to 90% of your diet is processed foods, 80 to 90% of the seed oils you're eating are bad seed oils, it's going to work with that. It's going to work with linoleic acid to try to give your body what it needs for cell membrane integrity. Cell membranes are coated with fat. When you have seed oils or a high concentration of seed oils, it disrupts the cell membranes so that the cell cannot detoxify or get nutrition in the way that it's supposed to. So these seed oils create toxic cells from the outside so that bad stuff can't get out and good stuff can't get in, and your mitochondria become exhausted. Your mitochondria are the powerhouse of your cells. You need them for so many things. You need healthy mitochondria for so much of your form and function. But if you're eating a diet high in inflammatory oils, it's going to prevent your body from healing the way that God intended it to. Our bodies do need this small amount of omega-6 fats. So don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying avoid every omega-6. Your body does need it, and getting them from nuts and seeds, the whole foods, is a way better way to do it. But you need smaller amounts of it. Typical and ideal ratio is like 20-to-1 or higher ideal, 1-to-1, tipping us into pro-inflammatory, So the ideal ratio is 20 omega-3s to 1 omega-6s, but most people's lab work, I've worded this weird, so I apologize, is like 1-to-1, anywhere from 1-to-1 or 4-to-1. I've pulled so many labs for people, and almost all of them need to start on just an omega-3. Like your standard fish oil, because it has a spectrum, is not going to do for you what we want it to do, especially if you're not willing to change your diet yet. Start with a tuna omega-3, and that way you can begin to drive down that inflammatory response that's happening within your body. It's so, so, so critical. So most people are in this either a 1-to-1 range or higher of omega-3s to omega-6s, causing so much distress in a body, causing the cells not to detoxify the way that they're supposed to. And it really creates and wreaks so much havoc. What they do in a body, let's go through this. And just like we've kind of touched on, but let's go a little more in depth. They create oxidative stress and free radical damage. These seed oils, again, high in these omega-6s, which oxidizes easily when heated, exposed to light, or stored for long periods. Once consumed, these oxidized fats trigger free radicals, damaging DNA, proteins, and cell membranes. It contributes to aging, chronic inflammation, and even degenerative diseases. Now, one thing that I will say is so sneaky is seed oils. One of the first things you're going to see when you pick up a dressing bottle and you flip it over for a salad is a seed oil, soybean oil. This is not creating health on your salad. You start with good intentions and you end with soybean oil. So keep in mind that, like, you can have all the best intentions in the world, but this is what these things are doing in your body. They're also creating chronic inflammation. So linoleic acid, that omega-6, converts to adirondac acid, which is a precursor to inflammatory prostaglandins and cytokinins. The overconsumption shifts the body into a pro-inflammatory state, which has been linked to conditions. So this is where these might sound familiar, of autoimmunity, heart disease, PCOS and endometriosis, anxiety, and depression. Pass. Again, I'll touch on really quick mitochondrial dysfunction. The cell's energy producers, your mitochondria, the powerhouse of your cell, are highly sensitive to oxidative damage. Seed oils impair mitochondrial function, reducing ATP, or the energy your body produces, which increases fatigue, brain fog, sluggishness, decreases metabolism. It's not fun. And it's decreasing how those cells can detoxify those things and get you back into a healthy place. Seed oils can interfere with hormone receptor function, particularly insulin, which is why this is going with the blood sugar work that I'm doing lately. It's just so critical. Estrogen and thyroid function. This contributes to insulin resistance, blood sugar crashes, estrogen dominance, and a sluggish thyroid. It can wreak havoc on your gut and immune system stress because these oxidized seed oils damage the gut lining. They disrupt the microbiome. It weakens your immune response, and it can trigger leaky gut. It can cause food sensitivities and even histamine issues. And I feel like histamine is a really hot topic. And histamine is a little bit complex in the sense that your body is producing too much histamine in response to a stressor. 80 to 90% of processed seed oils processed foods have seed oils, which can cause histamine issues. So it could be the environment you're living in, it could be the food that you're eating, it could be a combination. You could have a DAO enzyme issue, which is a precursor that helps break down those histamines. But if you're adding insult to injury, if you do have an enzymatic dysfunction within your body, this is where what you're doing, diet and lifestyle, is really critical. And it's stored in the fat tissue. So because linoleic acid is not readily and wanting to burn in the body, it can accumulate and store in the fat tissue for up to 2 years, slowly leaking into your bloodstream, which can promote that chronic inflammation for 2 years. Yuck, get it out. So where do they hide? Again, 90% of processed foods, granola bars, chips, crackers, you name it. They can be in protein powders, salad dressings, and dips. This is like a huge one. Restaurant fried foods and baby formula. I want to talk about this for a second because it's getting a little bit more attention from Health and Human Services investigation. But per the FDA standards, you cannot have an infant formula that is seed oil free. And I had to supplement formula for Eden with her because this pregnancy, my milk supply dropped. And I fed her a formula that had to be promoted by Serenity as a toddler formula for kids over the age of 2, because they legally cannot call it an infant formula because it was seed oil free. So interesting. So these infants from day 1 are getting seed oils and seed oil solids because of the flawed Ansel Keys study showing how healthy vegetable oils are for the brain and the body, along with corn syrup solids and so much artificial sugar in their tiny little body from day 1. No wonder these kiddos are having a hard time with learning, attention, retention, detoxification, pooping every day, all of the above. And that's not a parent's fault. Like, you're reaching for a formula you think is safe and effective because it has these standards in your mind that why would they ever let me give something to my kiddo that's not safe or healthy? And it's unfortunate. Marketing deception here is huge. So again, this is how Heart Healthy, based on outdated studies funded by the vegetable oil industry. They're non-GMO, but they're still processed after the fact with chemicals and heat. And organic does not guarantee that it's cold pressed or unrefined. And so why this cold pressed is so important, or expeller pressed, is because it's not adding heat to the pressing. Heat speeds up any process like that. When it's cold pressed, it's a little bit slower process, and it's not oxidizing that oil and making it rancid right away. So that's why that's an important one to look for. So again, bad marketing. Cholesterol free, stripped of fat, that's good for you. If you don't get cholesterol from your food, your body is going to make it with cheap substitutes. It's going to make it with the linoleic acid. It's going to make it with the omega-9s. It's going to make it with even more inflammatory components than what you would get from eating eggs, from eating red meat, from eating real dairy. Yuck to vegetable oil blends or natural oils. Ew. Buzzwords like pure or light, sneaky oils in healthy frozen meal sauces, even almond butter. They'll add it to nut butters for sure, seed oils, to make them no stirring necessary. So just be aware, they're everywhere, and they carry no shame in their game with marketing them because they're cheap. It's cheaper to do it fast and hot than cold and intentional. So when you're eating out, if you care, ask what oil they're frying in or using for sauteing. Choose grilled over fried. Bring your own dressings or opt for lemon and olive oil if they have olive oil, or vinegar and olive oil. Using the Seed Oil Scout app can be really helpful as well. Unfortunately, you do have to pay for that. But just asking a few critical questions can be really helpful. We just were on vacation and I was doing the 10-day standard process blood sugar reset, and I just carried that over. I didn't eat anything fried while I was eating out, but everywhere I went, I would ask, as far as their salads went, like, what kind of, do you have oil and vinegar? If so, what kind of oil are you using? That way I could get to the bottom of it. And I'll add salt to my salad too, like oil and vinegar and salt, or oil and lemon and salt, and it's really good and really refreshing. But I enjoy bitters. I enjoy the taste of bitter food. So that's just me. Let's go to the good. If anyone has questions about the bad, feel free to plop it in the chat. But there's other rabbit holes you can go down. My encouragement for today is don't just start with the 3 C's and the 3 S's. Be aware, start to make swaps. Seed oils, we do love cold pressed olive oil. It's high in antioxidants. It's ideal for dressings and light sauteing. Avocado oil is rich in this oleic acid, stable at higher temps. Look for cold pressed and unrefined, always cold pressed and unrefined. That's what I look for. Coconut oil, again, unrefined, look for that. Very antimicrobial. It's a stable saturated fat. So saturated fat is the fats that are solid at room temperature, and perfect for baking or pan frying or higher cook temp heating. And then black seed oil, which I threw this in here, but then I added a few more other therapeutic seed oils. So we'll also talk about sesame seed oil and wheat germ oil as well. Not for cooking, but excellent for decreasing inflammation and modulating immune support. So we'll unpack these. So let's talk about this. Olive oil, like, what's the cooking temperature below 325? Avocado oil below 475. Coconut oil 400. Butter and ghee, I mean, 300 to 485, so good. Tallow and lard 400 degrees plus, so good. So see, even the good seed oils don't hold a candle to butter and ghee and tallow and lard, because they're just so much more stable in their oxidative properties and the way that they can combat. Oh my gosh, I didn't click this forward for you guys. I'm so sorry. In the way that your body can absorb, the way that they don't break down under heat. Sorry, that was kind of confusing. So here are some of my favorite ways to use it. I use olive oil. I take it like a shot, 2 tablespoons in the morning. So anti-inflammatory, so high in omega-3s. Use the cold pressed olive oil for cold applications or low heat sauteing, drizzling, drinking, dressings, the triple D. I use avocado oil for higher heat cooking, but actually at home we use butter. We use butter. The key with any of these is they need to be fresh. The less fresh the oil, the less stable, the faster it degrades in heat. The smoke point lowers as it oxidizes. So these smoke points we just talked about, every day your oil is open, these tink down, ding, 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 because the oxygen is getting to these oils, which degrades its freshness and degrades that strength of the bonds between those fats that keep it together, that keep it healthy in your body. Baking and roasting with coconut oil pull, use it as a sunscreen, antimicrobial benefits, a lotion. I feel like coconut oil is kind of my catch-all. I use it for so many things, orally and topically in my body, and I love it. And again, black seed oil therapeutically and applied topically. We'll talk more about that. So let's talk about it. The benefits of black cumin seed oil or black seed oil. I love it. I've been taking it with the blood sugar reset, and I feel like it's really been great for my adrenals. It is an anti-inflammatory powerhouse. So we talked about cooking oils, top 3, coconut, avocado, olive oil. Those are the 3 that I can welcome into my home. I don't do a lot of cooking with it. I mostly use olive oil for all of my drizzlings, dressings, and drinking. For the coconut oil, more of the baking, I'll add it in sometimes in place of butter if I'm making like a cake, chocolate coconut cake or something like that. And topical use as well. And then avocado oil, occasional sauteing, light sauteing, things like that. So those are like the three that are okay cooking wise. Three, that's it. Three. Heavy preference on the non-seed oils, butter, lard, ghee. Go for those. Let's talk about the therapeutic benefits of black cumin seed oil, sesame seed oil, and wheat germ oil, because I think that these are powerhouse oils that can be used very, very intentionally to help your healing. Black cumin seed oil is really great for hair, skin, and nail health. It's anti-inflammatory. It is so great for reducing systemic inflammation. It's great for autoimmune conditions, joint pain, decreasing allergies, etc. Because it supports immune modulation. It balances an overactive immune response while still enhancing pathogen defense. It's traditionally used to fight infections, asthma, and respiratory issues. Isn't that so cool? And I think it's because it works so well for the asthma, allergy, and respiratory pathways because it's decreasing adrenal stress as well. And when your adrenals are hyperactive and your cortisol response is high, it really tightens up the respiratory tract. The gut and microbiome support it provides is great. It aids in the healing of leaky gut. It has natural antimicrobial effects against candida and certain types of bacteria. And it can support the lining of the gut repair as well as reducing bloat. It's great for improving insulin sensitivity and blood sugar regulation. It can help support thyroid function really, really intentionally. Again, probably because it's supporting the adrenals, and it can increase your metabolic rate. It is an antioxidant-rich oil, so you can use it topically to soothe eczema and psoriasis and acne, and it does work well because it has that antimicrobial impact as well. So if there is some deeper issue to the eczema that's maybe fungal in nature or bacterial in nature or parasitic in nature, it's kind of a 1-2 punch for that. It encourages hair growth and reduces scalp inflammation when applied directly to the scalp. So this is one that I'll recommend if women are losing their hair, or their hair seems to be falling out because of their thyroid. They take it orally and apply it topically like a scalp mask. And then detox and liver love. It is so good for that. It has shown to really enhance and protect gently the detoxification pathways. But again, it's best taken cold press in capsules or straight off the spoon. It's not meant for cooking. Due to the delicacy of its compounds, it's not a safe seed oil to cook in. Sesame seed oil is another really good one from Standard Process that we were just at a conference, and the gentleman teaching had us chew it up to help with our sinuses, which I thought was really interesting. So in supplement form, it can be very liver protective. It's high in sesamin and sesamolian and ligans, which support liver detox pathways 1 and 2. So it's a 1-2 punch for the liver, and that's why it can help clear out the sinuses. Sesamin modulates estrogen metabolism, so it can be very helpful to decrease estrogen dominance. It is an antioxidant and it's anti-inflammatory. It supports the systemic it supports the reduction of systemic inflammation and actually decreases oxidative stress. So it's great when you take it alongside like an omega-3 because it's going to decrease that inflammation, decrease that oxidative stress, give you antioxidants, which are going to be very promotional for just your overall health, vitality, and cellular health as well. It helps with blood pressure and lipid modulation. So it can improve those cholesterol ratios and reduce blood pressure in a clinical setting. Again, I think that has more to do with helping the phase 1 and 2 liver detox pathways. This is just a fortunate side effect of it that studies have shown. And because it's really anti-inflammatory, it's supporting the cell membrane integrity, which supports essential fatty acid utilization within the body. So it's really important that when you are doing sesame seed oil and utilizing sesame seed oil, if you're using it in like a capsule, a Standard Process capsule, a little bit different than if you're maybe putting it on a stir fry. So sometimes I'll use sesame seed oil as a drizzle on stir fry. I literally never cook in it. It's only ever drizzled on the food after we eat it or after we dish it up. I'll drizzle sesame seed oil on. I'll put sesame seeds on our like stir fry. And I buy the smallest bottle of it because it can go rancid very, very quickly. Again, it's a delicate seed oil. These oils are delicate. And if you're buying the higher quality ones, they are not chucked full of preservatives to keep them stable for a long time. They're fresh and they're going to go bad faster. So if that's something you want to still incorporate, and I like it enough that I'm going to buy a little bottle and put it on my stir fries. But you know, if you don't want to waste any money, if you feel like you're not going to use it fast enough, that's going to be really critical. So even with high quality sesame seed oil, it still does have some omega-6s. So use with awareness. With a whole food diet, with a fat diverse diet, it's not meant for cooking, again, due to the profile and smoke point. You can drizzle it on after, but make sure you're having it with other omega-3s so that you can really optimize it. So a good example of this would be like a Thai salad. If you have it with salmon and then drizzle sesame seed oil on top and then sesame seeds, you're getting the omega-3s from the salmon and then some slight omega-6s and omega-3s from the sesame seed oil so that it's being utilized appropriately by your body. I have a couple questions. I'm going to try to pull this up really quick. It's not letting me. Okay, two really good questions. What do we mean by cold pressed? So if we go back, which maybe I can do at the end, but if we go back to the very beginning, I bet I can do that really quick. So most seed oils, the way that they're processed is with this high heat extraction. So they press the seed and then they use heat to pull as much oil from the seed as they possibly can. But this process creates rancid or bad fats right away. Anytime you're applying heat to fat, it changes it. This is why butter melts. This is why oil sautés. And the way that heat impacts fat is it begins to break down the connections between those molecules that make fat fat. So this is food chemistry, food science, so fun. And that can make fat more dangerous in a body. When you can have cold pressed oil, it's not allowing for the degradation or the breakdown of that fat profile. That's where the magic is. When you can get these fats in the way that God intended them to, they can work in your body the way that they're supposed to. But this heat immediately begins to break it down. And then they put it through chemical solvent, degumming, bleaching, deodorizing, and chemical additives to improve shelf life to try to support the structural integrity of that fat to give it the flavor profile they're looking for it to have, because this high heat extraction is basically starting your fat off on a really rancid note. So cold press means they're not applying heat in that pressing process. That means it's not nearly as efficient or cost effective, but it's preserving the integrity of the fat in a way that the body will recognize it and be able to utilize it in a very intentional way. Such a good question. And then I keep my sesame seed oil in the fridge. Does that help keep it fresh? Well, it does help. It doesn't solve the whole problem. So just keep that in mind. Always smell it. Make sure it doesn't smell like it's going rancid or getting that rancid smell. I think the other thing that oxidizes really quickly, and some people hate when I say this, is coffee. You can tell when coffee doesn't smell as fresh. You can tell when oil doesn't smell as fresh. That's usually a good time to clear it out of the way. Okay, last one, let's talk about wheat germ oil. I love wheat germ oil. This is one that when we're testing at Eating Elevated, we put on the body to test for scars because it's the richest natural source of vitamin E. And vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant that supports not only cardiovascular health, but it's supporting nerve health and nerve communication. And so rubbing vitamin E oil topically on your scars has been shown to help enhance blood flow and nerve communication to heal the scar tissue in that area. It reduces oxidative damage to cells, which we're just talking about how oxygen, we love it, but too much of it is not a good thing. So oxidative stress damages cells, ages cells, and makes things go bad. Just like when you bite into an apple and it turns brown, that apple is aging faster because it's now exposed to oxygen. So keeping that in mind, like when you put something in a fridge, it's not necessarily reducing the exposure to oxygen, but it is more temperature protective, and things usually maintain better at a cold temperature. Really beautifully supports fertility and hormones. Vitamin E is so essential for reproductive health, and it's often used in protocols for adrenal and sex hormone support. It's a natural supporter of a healthy uterine lining for pregnancy and helping develop a healthy uterine lining for an embryo to attach to. So for fertility, that's one that I'll often use if women are struggling with having a healthy endocrine lining. Really great source of essential fatty acids. It contains a bit of omega-6 and omega-3. So this is a great blend. Again, if you get these things synergistically, the body knows what to do with it. So it supports skin health, nerve health, cell health. It helps support circulation and circulatory health by protecting red blood cells and promoting microcirculation, which is not just your whole body circulation, but it's to all the little areas of the body that's still needed as well. It's a really great and natural enhancer of detox pathways and protocols. It's supporting the liver, it's supporting antioxidants, and by using it with herbs and other granulars, which is other standard processed products, it can work really synergistically to keep the liver and the gallbladder open and things draining the way that they're supposed to. Whole wheat germ oil, it contains fiber, folate, B vitamins. Whole wheat germ contains fiber, folate, and B vitamins, as well as minerals and some healthy fats, but wheat germ oil specifically is very, very, very delicate. It's a very delicate oil. It goes rancid very quickly. It's best raw. It's best refrigerated. Raw meaning cold pressed. None of these high temp utilizations to help stabilize them and deodorize them, etc. Avoid at all times the refined and commercial versions. Again, deodorize, bleach, stripped of nutrients. No, thank you. I'm going to pass. So tips for your pantry for this. Read every label. What are your favorite products that you feel like you can't replace? And look at them and see, okay, are there seed oils in these? If so, let's just start to next time swap around and find alternatives that you can actually tolerate. One Minnesota staple that is like so bad, ranch dressing. Now, kudos to Hidden Valley. They finally removed the MSG from their ranch dressing, but still the buttermilk ranch soybean oil is the #1 recipe or #1 ingredient. And you guys do know this, I feel like for the most part, but the first ingredient on the food label is the highest concentration in that food. So if the first thing you see in buttermilk ranch is soybean oil, you just put it back. One thing I will say over the years that I have found to be so easy is making your own dressings. It's really not that hard. It's amazing when you start to make your own and then you look at labels. It's like, why do they have so many things in here? It's just confusing. Preservatives, shelf stability, that increases their profit margin. They don't need to keep getting fresh foods in every week. Primal Kitchen is a good brand. Somebody asked, is Primal Kitchen an okay brand to use for dressings, or thoughts on that? Primal Kitchen is seed oil free. So that's a really good option. So replace your seed oils with safe staples. Buy smaller bottles. Keep it fresh. Do most of your cooking with butter, tallow, lard, or ghee. Make a family oil list to keep track of the good guys. Find your staples and keep track of those too. Like I always know, okay, lesser evil, I can always pick that. That's one that's going to really support our family and our goals. Primal Kitchen, I can always choose those dressings if that's something we want to do. Daisy Sour Cream has some dips now that are seed oil free, which is so nice for like vegetable trays. They have ranch. I think they have 3, but the only ones I've ever seen are ranch and French onion. So you can find so many dupes with like Siete chips and the Daisy French onion dip where, yeah, you're gonna spend a little bit more, but again, you're not gonna spend it on your health in the long run because you're getting these seed oils out of your body and they're so inflammatory and it's so hard on your cells. Remember, your body is a temple. Your body is a temple. Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from your God, and you are not your own, for you have been purchased at a price. Therefore, glorify God with your body. I think like going into Easter this weekend and Good Friday, it's so important to remember we are not just fueling our body for fun, we're fueling our body with intention. I believe we're going to get these bodies back someday. So I'm going to take really good care of it for when I meet Jesus. And then we have the resurrection of the body. And so I just think like we are not just nourishing our body for pleasure. We are nourishing our body with intention. And it's so important. God gave us food in its natural form, not bleached, not processed, not chemically altered. Health isn't just about diet, it's about discernment. And it's really important to carry these things into our ministry as parents. I think, it's one thing that I really try to teach my kids is we eat this way because it honors the body that God gave us. And yes, sometimes we get treats. We just went on vacation, we got ice cream, we got froyo, it's so fun, but they're not staples in our home because I want to make sure that I'm teaching my kids temperance and how to fuel their body well so that they feel their best in order for them to feel their best. Like, well, I want them to feel good and I want them to not have undesirable aches and pains that can come from some of these inflammatory conditions that our diet can further exacerbate within a body. It's not about being perfect. It's about being aware. It's about just stewardship of your decisions and discernment in those decisions and knowing you have options, which I think is really important. As you get the bad out, your body will crave the good. It's hard to believe right now, especially if you're just starting this journey, but it is so true. You will just crave the good. And because these processed foods are so addicting, it can almost feel impossible as you start to maybe break up with them to find alternatives that you like or that taste is good. Your dopamine receptors have to reset. It is literally the same as a drug addict withdrawing. Your body and your brain have become addicted to the dopamine that this food and this sugar and these highly processed, highly seasoned foods are giving you, and your children too. This is why I'm telling you this. Maybe this is not something you're struggling with, but it's something in your family that you need to be aware of. It's going to be hard. So make it slow and steady and find the alternatives that are satisfying. And even if it's not the best alternative right away, it's still a good alternative. I've had clients though, as they swap out seed oils and swap out, usually with seed oils too, they're literally just cleaning up some of the seasoning and the MSG in their diet. We have joint pain that completely disappears, period pain that completely disappears, headaches that completely go away, the inability to sweat or the mitochondrial dysfunction totally gone. Obviously, we're doing some other things in the background, but so much is diet related. Another really cool thing, I mentioned this a little bit, is your blood lipids will stabilize. That omega-3 to omega-6 index within your body will begin to stabilize. You will feel so much better. This is why joint pain goes away. When you get enough omega-3s in, the body is less inflamed and it can tolerate stress and it can tolerate kicking out the bad fats. And you're going to feel that in your face. You're going to feel that in your hands. You're going to feel that in your joints. It's so cool. The body is so smart. It knows what it likes. And when it gets that good stuff in, it's going to crave more of the good. All right. That's all I have for you today. This one was a little bit shorter, a little bit sweeter, still 50 minutes. Any other questions in the comments at all, or comments at all, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll just give that a few minutes, but seed oils can seem overwhelming. They don't have to be. Start with the 3 C's and the 3 S's. There are seed oils that can be extremely beneficial. We talked about 3 of them. Black cumin is one of my absolute favorites. I feel like hair, skin, and nail wise, oh man, my hair is so much happier because my adrenals are happier, but I love that. I love that it's working on a therapeutic level within my body. All right. It doesn't look like there's any other questions. If you guys have them, feel free. You can pop over. Oh, one more. Do I take these daily? I do not take wheat germ oil daily, and I do not take sesame seed oil daily. I have been taking black cumin seed daily, and I really like that one. I feel like it works really well for my body, my adrenals, my gut. I love it. I take the Medi herb one, so it is a cold pressed, but it's in a pill form. And so it's the way that Medi herb processes their herbal tinctures and they put them into a pill form. And so I really, really like that. And I take one in the morning and one in the evening. And it makes me feel all calm, cool, collected, and happy. Great questions. But as far as like olive oil goes, I'm having that every single day. Like a shot. Yummy. And that's really good for hormones as well. And it's getting omega-3s in right away. So it's really great lubricating the gut and the gut lining. And If you don't like it, most people don't. You can add a little bit of salt to it and a lemon wedge. Beautiful. All right, team. Well, thank you so much for hopping on today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a peaceful Holy Week. God is so good. Happy Easter.